Welcome to the What's Working podcast, the podcast where we ask, what's working? Hey everyone, welcome to the What's Working podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Nash, and I'm thrilled to have in studio today Dan Stowell from NF Media Agency. Dan, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey Jimmy, thank you so much for having me today.
So I know we established, so you're in Michigan right now, or that's where you're based.
I am, yeah. A bit cold here.
I'm a little warmer here in St. Pete, but it is St. Pete cold. So
Right.
That's what happened. So tell me a little bit about NF Media Agency. I see your tagline is marketing grit that gets results. What is marketing grit to you?
Yeah. So I kind of play off of, I've been in Detroit and Michigan my whole life. I'm about 20 minutes from downtown. So that Detroit culture, that Detroit identity is something that has been just part of my life growing up, like going to the Eastern markets as a little kid and just being part of the city, more so than people like in Michigan. Everyone says, oh yeah, I'm from Detroit, but then you're like 45 an hour away and no one actually goes to Detroit. So I actually like to embrace, the Detroit culture, the sports teams that we have. It's really unique, the city that we have here and the resilience that we bring. And so that's something that I bring to my day-to-day life. And, hence with the marketing agency, that doesn't stop there. So we bring that resilience and that hardworking effort to the marketing and our clients as well.
Okay, wonderful. So, it's definitely, I think it's interesting. I've talked to several people that are based in just different cities around the country, and it does shape your vision, I do think, in what you provide to your clients. Not that you can't provide some of the same things no matter where you are, but I like talking. I've talked to people in Chicago, and there's a definite vibe in Chicago, definite Detroit, New York. Here in St. Pete, it's kind of a mix because we have so many transplants from all over, just people who want to be in a little warmer weather. So I know you on your website you talk about you focus on generating leads for clients. So what do you see that's really working for generating leads for clients? I know there's a lot of different ways. It all depends on the industry, but what is one of your preferred ways to do that?
Yeah, so the way that we started is through social media marketing, actually, and it's what we started and it's still working here today. The special thing about social media and why we started is that it really hits every point of that marketing funnel. So every touch point from awareness to interest and engagement, consideration, the conversion itself, building your community, and then having advocates. So there's really not much any other marketing channels that hit every single touch point on that marketing funnel. And that's why social media has been, something that we're always on, it's something that we can't get off on our phones. And it's something that just has such a potential upside that every business, no matter what industry, can use. But I have found that I've been doing marketing for over 8 years now, especially with social media. That's where we started. The downside is that like measuring real business goals and driving the revenue, it's hard to measure that with the social media metrics. There's so many vanity metrics that don't necessarily correlate with business goals. And so when you're having conversations with business owners, you have to be able to translate those results and, have it actually make sense rather than, hey, we're growing on the followers, but then they look at their bottom line and it's like, hey, the revenue is not going up. So that's kind of the thing with social media and why we've actually had to branch out into other services. So many people talk about niching down, do that one thing, that the niches are where the millions are at. But at an overview level, it's like the lead generation is not enough. And so you have to do conversions as well if you really want to be a good agency that gets results. And so the social media, it does do great for that awareness and that lead conversion, but we've had to go into Google campaigns as well to get those conversions and those results. And that's where the high intent lives.
Right, of course. So we talk about those vanity metrics all the time because it's so, of course, I think when social media first started, it was so easy to just like buy those results. And then, of course, they started cracking down on that. You started to get, you'd either get banned or you get penalized. And a lot of people, they take off, oh my gosh, we have 1 million followers. And then you're like, oh, wow, that was really quick. And now what are there any metrics though you see beyond the vanity metrics that you can say, okay, if a post does get this many likes or this many comments or this many views, do you know that that's going to translate to, okay, X amount of percentage of people are actually going to click through and go purchase a good or service from their site?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the business, but what we typically look like for the social media is we'll have baseline metrics. So what the average post is for likes, shares, really the shares and the saves are the two metrics that really matters most today. Like we talked about likes in the comments, but that's the shares and the saves are really what the algorithm likes in 2026, and the shares gets it out to new people as well. So if you can create shareable content, that is what's going to really be the best return on your investment in terms of social media. Um, but so we'll look at those baseline metrics, and then if a post does say 3 to 5 times above those baseline metrics, we can grade that as a good post, and we can do more of that going forward because the audience and the algorithm responded well to that type of content. So we want to build off of our success and what does well. And if something doesn't do well, it's like, hey, we got to look at the data there too, and we don't want to continue to repeat that lack of success.
Right.
But the biggest things like beyond that, I would say is profile clicks and website clicks as well. Because, at the end of the day, you probably have a funnel or a product or service that you want to do. So if you can get them from social media to your website or your email newsletter, that's really the main goal of social media.
Right. So it's interesting talking about website clicks because I think just myself as a consumer, I always try to ask myself, like, how do I consume? Because I try not to go to someone's website unless I'm really want if I'm really interested, because I know I'm being tracked over the internet. And so
Yeah.
it's like, I think that in so many ways has helped, like, someone's a qualified or at least interested buyer if they're getting to your website, because nobody goes to websites unless they're really looking for something anymore. I mean, people are on social media. Like you said, that's why you're targeting social media still so much.
Right. And that's the whole idea is like social media, it's great for that awareness, but when it goes down to the conversions, it's like people between the two, it's like social media is more of an investment here, and it's really positioning your reputation and your brand. And so people will see your social media, view you as a candidate for a potential suitor for the problem that they're looking to solve, but then they're going to go to your website and see your reviews on Google, and that's what's going to qualify them to actually purchase from you. So the social media like gets you in the door, but it still has that consideration that you have to have other factors in marketing put in place for.
Right. And so you've been doing this 8 years. I'm curious what you've seen as far as, I know the algorithms change all the time. I remember when they first started, if you could get a good post and get the right hashtags, you could get in the feed and you get in the algorithm. And now it's changed. So how has that changed your strategy over the last 8 years, just getting posts into the right algorithms and getting them seen?
Yeah, so probably like 2, 3 years ago, you could post like any video on Instagram Reel, even TikTok, and it would basically explode. You'd get thousands of views no matter what your account is. If you have 100 followers, no matter the algorithm just boosted videos at that point. And so we've seen a bit of a change in the algorithm that it's not so much on the quantity. Like you'll see Gary Vee talk about posting 3, 4, 5 times a day, and it's just like you got to get as much out as possible. I actually don't think that's the case in 2026. I think it's more so about the quality of the content. And even if that's posting 3 times a week, if you're consistent on that level, like I think it's more important to be consistent in today's world of marketing, not so much just hammer that message all the time, because it's going to be a lack of a quality message at that point. And so, like I said, with the shares and the saves, those are the metrics that you really want to go for. And so if you can create a good, high quality, shareable content, it may take you more time to create that content because it is better quality. It takes more time to edit the video. You actually script it out a little bit. You put some effort into it. Those posts are going to do better. And overall, like I said, with social media being like basically like your public resume at this point, people are going to want to check out your social media before they purchase. And if you just are posting whatever just to post, they're going to see that content like, well, maybe this isn't my guy. But if you have good quality content, You know, you don't have to post every single day, but they go through your post just
Mm.
off of your feed there. And it's like every one is good. You're providing value on every single post. That's where it is in today's world, in my opinion.
Mhm. So I think that's kind of, to me, good news because I I just know the pressure to post, like you said, 3, 4, 5 times a day. But if everybody's doing it, then aren't you just creating more, just more to compete against in the long run anyway? Just creating that huge volume versus the quality. And I know just in what I see on Instagram and TikTok, especially, I'll see things that from people I follow that are from 3 weeks ago, but it's performing well. And it's still, so I don't care what if they've posted 3 things today, it's not showing me just everything even in the same order anymore.
Exactly. And that's the other thing. So with social media, like Instagram and Facebook have been traditional, like the biggest platforms that I've been on, but I've actually been transferring to LinkedIn, and that's my
Mhm.
preferred platform in 2026. And you'll get engagement from 3 weeks ago, like you just said, on a LinkedIn
Right.
post because it still engages, and then it shows other people like, hey, so and so liked this post, and then it's like a wildfire in that sense. Um, so this different platforms, they obviously have their preferences, but depending on your business, you know, I would recommend prioritizing one platform based off of your audience and where those demographics are hanging out.
Right. Okay, cool. So, we always end up talking a little bit technology, and if we're talking technology, we always end up talking a little bit about AI. And I'm wondering, I get a whole lot of different feedback on this subject, how AI has affected your business, if there are any tools that you use, if there are any tools you just have to be aware of, or how it's affected you in total.
Yeah. Overall, I mean, I would say, I'd say I've like tried to be ahead of the AI curve as much as possible. I've involved myself in a couple masterminds and just like learning from the top experts in the industry and just staying on top of what I can. The biggest thing that I've been using in the past 2.5 years now is ChatGPT, but not like just like answering questions like everyone
Right.
thinks. What I do for each client is I really train, like I create an agent for each client in
Right.
ChatGPT. And so it'll know everything about the client. It'll know the goals of the client. It'll know the industry of the client, everything that we need to know to plug into this. And that will be my personal assistant at that point. So then if we need to create captions for social media, I don't rely on AI. That I think that's the biggest misconception. It's like it can speed up things so well, but you have to proof it. You have to review it. It's
Mhm.
not just this thing that you copy and paste and post and you're done. You have to essentially use it as a tool to enhance yourself and your own creativity. And I think that's where people that leverage AI in that way, they're going to open up new doors of opportunity for the future. So it's really like customizing it to you and like creating an extension of yourself with the AI to make things like optimize things to make it easier, more time efficient, get better results. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing is just like training my own little agents to work
Mhm.
within my business. But in terms of other tools, Canva and CapCut are go-tos for video editing and
Okay.
creative design. And then in terms of like actually building out marketing systems and more of like the high level of things, I've been tapping into Go High Level as my main software for that.
Right. Yeah, that seems to be kind of the most popular one that I see at this time. Definitely have a lot of clients who prefer that, and it has a lot of great tools. Of course, a lot of things I'm seeing just tools that we've already been using, like Canva. I know Canva puts AI into Photoshop. I saw Adobe Premiere just launched a new AI tool within. I think you can actually uh, Photoshop somebody out in video in real time,
Right.
which you used to have to, they've been able to do it for years manually if you have the skills to do it, but they're making it so AI can just, detect this person and just follow them frame by frame, which is just mind blowing to think how far we've come in that amount of time. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm curious if it has. I've gotten some different reviews on how the AI has affected search results on Google because now you have the AI overview at the top then the sponsored, then the organic. Have you seen any difference in traffic when you're making your funnels for your different clients?
Yeah, so I honestly haven't got into I think it's GEO. That's the new
Right.
SEO term. Um, I'm aware of it, but I haven't like dove in terms of the marketing and the lead generation on that front. But I do use it as a consumer, and so I actually really like Gemini. Those are the two
Mm.
AI searches that I use is ChatGPT and Gemini. And I like Gemini because, like you said, it gives you that AI summary when you're just doing a Google search now. And then
Mhm.
you can hit AI mode and start talking to it like you're in chat. And it's not just like doing a Google search anymore. You're having a conversation with Google. And so as a consumer, like I love it. um, it's so much easier to find information and filter out and like actually ask questions rather than like filtering through a bunch of different articles. Um, but in terms of like positioning yourself in that front, that's like a whole new area of opportunity for businesses. I was just talking to a friend of mine who's doing a skincare supplement, and I was just saying like, hey, if you could, people are searching in ChatGPT, like what are the best skincare supplements? If you can position yourself to land as one of those top five
Mhm.
results that it recommends, that's going out to how many people?
Right.
So, it's so much, it's such a big opportunity, for those that are in those high intent search optimization.
Mm. Yes. So what the one comment I received from another guest was that they are hopeful that now with the uh, AI SEO or the GEO or whatever, I'm sure it's going to go through several different name changes, is it's actually reading websites more like a human being. So, which
Mm,
is good for us as marketers because we can actually, if we write better copy, it should detect, higher quality content to feature in the review versus the old school way of SEO when it first started for many years, just putting keywords hundreds of times everywhere you could on a website that doesn't necessarily mean anything for the value of the company. So
right.
that's one way. I'm hopeful that that is a correct presumption and that will move us forward as marketers to just create better content and get better results in the SEO.
Exactly. And keep it more like conversational and human, because that's another thing with AI. Things are getting so uh, just like tech and automated, but we need that human connection. And that's where community and social media come into play. And just like another thing that's working in marketing is like public events, like getting out in
Mhm.
person, shaking hands, making a good first impression, that never goes away. So
Right.
that's another thing that if you can position yourself with the right events and the right local opportunities, for sure do it, put on a smile, shake hands, and, some good things will come out of that.
That's something I heard Mark Cuban say is he said, as AI increases, you're going to see in-person networking events explode because people want to know they're meeting an actual person. I mean, we're at the point, we're not far off if we could possibly already be there, where I could just be AI and you wouldn't know it. I could just
Honestly,
like, I mean, just tell it, I could make it look just like me and talk just like me too. And it might get me, 95% of the way there. And so I think that's very interesting. That I think you can never discount meeting people in person and actually shaking their hand and looking them in the eye and, building that trust for that. Hey, I'm a real person and I'm going to do all I can to elevate your brand.
yeah, and I got your back. I'm here. You know where to find me.
Yeah. So I'm curious if there any, I don't like to say problem, but is there any issue in marketing and social media and in your funnels to get results? If you could just wave a magic wand, what would be like the one thing that you wish you could just fix once and for all? That's just like in this business. I wish I didn't have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah. Man, honestly, the thing that bogs me down the most is the video editing. Like that's the biggest thing, like my biggest complaint in marketing. But obviously you can offload and, find solutions to that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think like especially with LinkedIn, man, there's so many, it's like AI bots talking to AI bots. Like you said,
Mhm.
like this could be like, you could be a AI version and this could be like an AI podcast. And so what I would love to see is more human connection on the social side of things and not just a bunch of bots responding to bots. And it's like,
Mhm.
that's how, like, we're not always going to be able to get out to those in-person events. And so making sure that you respond to comments authentically and actually build relationships, and that's not just words and emojis. I see a lot of that, and I see people that talk about their business and how much they care about you and stuff. But then it's like once
Mhm.
you stop paying for them and their service, you're a ghost to them. And it's
Mhm.
like you were just a number at that point. And so I just want to see people in general and the marketing care a little bit more if to answer your question and just have more integrity. That would be the biggest thing.
Right. I think, I would say good people know good people. So it's like anytime we can work with people that if we've been directly referred and someone can vouch for us that, okay, these people have integrity, they're going to stand by their product. And if something, it's not always just that everything goes right. It's also what happened if something does go wrong that you're going to fix it.
Yeah,
Because,
own up to it. Yeah.
yeah. So, well, the video editing, I find that too because especially like just editing this podcast, like I I would say if I had lower standards, I could be done by now. But it
Yeah.
because like I want to make sure I'm watching everything, and then the captions, like we record on Riverside, and they have some great AI tools. It optimizes the audio in seconds. That used to take me so long to do by hand, and I know how to do it. I know how to EQ it, but it does a great job at that, but the captions don't always get it all correctly. And sometimes it even changes the meaning of a sentence if this word's here. So you still have to double check everything. And yeah, the video, I think it is one of those things like we talk about, like maybe AI will get better and better, and it will be something that you don't have to check up on it as much in the future. I mean, of course, there are lots of good freelancers out there if you need help editing, but you still got to make sure, once again, the trust factor that you can trust who's editing. But that is, yeah, content. We have so much content to make. I think that ties back, though, into it's great if we don't have to post 5 times a day. That gets our video
Right.
down
Yeah.
greatly.
Yeah. So anyone out there, like, hey, you don't have to post 5 times a day. Like the anxiety can go down a little bit in 2026. Right.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, well, as we're coming down to the end here pretty soon, I always like to ask before we close, if you could give one piece of advice to someone, let's say they're just starting, maybe they're an intern at a company, maybe they're deciding to start their own agency, what would be your biggest piece of advice based on what you've learned over the last 8 years?
That's a good one. Um, Honestly, the the situations that have stretched me the most and have been the most challenging, the most fearful to go into and say yes to, those have been every single time the opportunities that have stretched me the most, where I've learned the most, met incredible people that I'm still friends with today. So usually, and this is like with life, not just marketing, but like if it scares you, you should probably do it. And, I kind of live by that. And, I would say to just keep on carving your path. Like there's so much noise out there. Everybody has an opinion, but you should trust your opinion the most and value that the most. And, trust that you're doing the right things and you're gonna make mistakes along the process. Like that's just life. Learn from those mistakes. Don't put your head down. Have good people in your circle that you can bounce off and get a good opinion from. But yeah, I would say that those are like the biggest things is like just trusting yourself, carving out your own path and, you know, just trusting yourself. Like that's the hardest thing to do in today's world when
Mhm.
there's so much noise.
Absolutely. I think it's finding that balance of trusting yourself, but never being afraid to talk to someone and that you trust too and get some feedback and say, because I've definitely had times where I needed to trust myself and sometimes that I'm like, just tweak it a little if I had a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, it's a hard line, but that's why it's like you got to have the right people in your circle. Like
Hmm.
not every opinion weighs out the same. Like some
Oh,
people have the
yeah.
experience, others don't. And some people have like those same people that don't, they can have your best interests at heart, but if they don't have the experience, like it's hard to use that opinion. And so it's just one of those things it's not just marketing, it's life. So
Right.
one of those things it's life, we work to live. And so if kind of just mixing both of those life lessons and the business lessons, I think, it all goes hand in hand.
Yes, I agree. Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of
And
course. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great conversation.
yes, Dan Stowell, founder of NF Media Agency. Check him out. Marketing grit that gets results. I love that. And everybody, thank you for watching the What's Working podcast. We'll catch you next time.